Well, it's about that time again. So about 2 months ago, I went by Whole Foods and I got a choice ribeye steak. And I was extremely surprised at how good it was, which got me to thinking, I've eaten a lot of steaks in my life, probably one ribeye a week for at least the past 10 years. So I wanted to do a direct comparison to see if local butcher shops are worth the money, or can you just run to Whole Foods and get something that's pretty good for a pretty decent price? Let's put them through the grinder and find out. All right, so we've got two choice grade steaks here. One is Whole Foods, which is 26.21, and the net weight on this is 1.14 pounds. Up next, from my local butcher, we've got Creekstone Farms, which is 35.90 for 1.33 pounds. So next, what I'm gonna do, just the way I've always prepped a steak, is I just take a kitchen knife and come in, stab some bunch of holes in it, especially in those big chunks of fat to kind of break that up. So we'll go ahead, bring you in, let you take a look at the marbling on these guys, see what you think. All right, so here's our Whole Foods steak. Get it unwrapped. Always so nice to put that extra layer of paper in there. So let's get rid of this. All right, so there's our steak, our marbleization in there, kind of on both sides. This is a pretty good looking steak. That's our thickness, so not too bad at all. All right, up next we got the Creekstone Farms. Get this unwrapped here, double layered as well, beautiful. Go ahead and get this stuff out of the way. All right, so there's our marbling. A little less marbling in this one, but that big piece of fat right there, oh, that makes me happy. There's our other side. So thickness, so overall, definitely not bad. So let's get some holes stabbed in this guy and kind of, this is pretty much all I do on these as far as any tenderization goes. So poke a bunch of holes in here, whether you want to use a knife or a fork. I definitely like to get these big parts of fat down here. So I'll go this way across and then I'll come back and we'll go the other direction. Just to get as many holes in there as we can, just to kind of get that salt to sink in on some of these thicker cuts of meat. Yeah. All right. Like I said, definitely want to make sure to break up kind of those bigger chunks of fat, because it kind of helps that stuff render a little bit better when you're cooking it, especially the way we're going to cook these. So then we'll just come back across, go across kind of the grain of what we did before, and we will have a nice steak with plenty of holes for our marinade to sink into. All right, as far as our marinade goes, what we're gonna be using on this, some A1 sauce. Just gonna take our A1 sauce, we're gonna put a layer over top of it, about like that, both steaks, and that's a little thick on these. Take your hand and just rub these guys in, especially on the sides. So I've been doing this probably for about 10 years now, and I'm sure I am not the first person to do this. But I found out that this works really great as a marinade. I don't really know why, but it does. So I'm gonna flip these guys over, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So maybe a little less heavy on this side, but it really doesn't matter because the steak will soak it up, because we're going to throw these guys in the fridge overnight. Make sure to cover that fat really good, because it will soak up all that A1 sauce and that fat. And it doesn't come out as strong as kind of A1 sauce that you eat. It's kind of diluted quite a bit, and it just gives it a really good flavor. So now that we've got these guys rubbed down, I'm gonna wipe our hands off here. Next step is to come in with some Diamond Crystal kosher salt. And I've got this just kind of in my own little shaker because I like the whole size that's in it. If you're using table salt, you need to go a lot lighter on this. Just because of the type of salt this is and the way that it's going to end up hitting your tongue. If you're using table salt, it'll come out way too salty, so just keep that in mind. If you can find Diamond Crystal kosher salt, this stuff is really good. So we're just going to come in, we're going to put a light coat over top. Same way on each side. Next, we're going to come in with some adobo Goya, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So this has got a little bit of pepper and some different ingredients in it, but you just want to do a really light coating over top of it. And third is Trader Joe's 21 seasoning. I love this stuff. It works really good on different types of meat, but it works really good on these ribeyes. And this doesn't have a lot of salt in it, so you can go a little heavier on this if you want to, but it's got some really unique flavors and seasonings in it. Then all we're gonna do, flip them over, do the exact same thing on the other side. Something I like to do is keep a dirty hand. That way you can rotate your meat and you don't get stuff all over your bottles. So then we'll do the same thing right here with a little bit of salt, a little bit of our Goya, and a little bit of our Trader Joe's. All right, that is pretty much it. So now all we're gonna do is we're gonna take these things, we're gonna wrap them up, we're gonna throw them in the fridge so we're ready to cook them tomorrow. You can marinate this for like 2 to 3 hours and it turns out almost as good. It just penetrates in a lot deeper if you let it set longer. So we'll go ahead, we'll get these guys wrapped up, we'll throw them in the fridge, and then tomorrow we will bring these guys back out to throw them on the grill. All right, so it's the next day. Steaks have been sitting roughly for almost 24 hours. This is what we're looking like. So I put these guys on a wire rack on a pan, but you can put them in a bag. The reason why I do this is it gives it a little bit more bark on the outside. It just kind of depends on how you really like your steak and what type of texture you like. But either way still works really well. So we're gonna chunk these guys on the fire. I got this grill running about 500 degrees. We're gonna run them on there for about a minute on each side, and then we're gonna run it for an additional 3 minutes on each side just to get them to temperature. We'll probe them and see kind of where we're at. All right, let's get these guys laid on here. So there we go. We're gonna run these for about a minute on each side. I got a separate little timing device over here. We're gonna set these, we'll let them run for about a minute on each side. And what that's gonna do is give us a good bark to start with on each side. So 1 minute, we'll flip them, then we'll run 3 minutes on kind of flipping them back and forth in order to get that internal temperature. When we probe them, we want to be at about 125. All right, so after about a minute on each side, we've got some fantastic grill marks. As you can see here, alarm's going off, but you can see our grill marks in there looking really good. Gonna run it another minute on this side, and then we're gonna cut the heat back, and I'm gonna show you kind of something I like to do that locks in a little bit more moisture on these guys. All right, so we got our second minute on there. We've got a pretty good looking coat on each side as far as crispiness goes. We'll check this guy. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna take these guys and throw them up on the top rack, kind of the alternate side. We're gonna cut the heat back all the way to low. We're just gonna close the lid. What this is gonna do is it's gonna give us kind of a little bit of time to lock in a little bit moisture on these guys. So. All right, so we've let these guys set now for, I don't know, about 3 or 4 minutes. I like to throw them up on the top rack, turn the heat all the way down to low, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this fat right here to render and become really soft and tender. It's not something that is, I feel like, typically done with a steak, but it's the way I like to cook mine. And I think once you get that good bark on the outside, you throw these guys up here on that top rack, and you just kind of let them sit and come up to temperature. So we'll probe these guys and kind of see where we're at. We're at 103, 104, 103, 99, 98, and we're just going to let these guys just slowly come up to temperature. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow that fat to render throughout the meat, and it's going to lock in a lot of flavor. This is the way I like to cook a ribeye. All right, so we've got these guys up to temp. We're looking at 120, 124, 125. So we're looking at 130 in the tougher part of that. So we're going to go ahead and get these guys pulled off, let them rest. And that is a key to doing this, is letting your meat rest. Let this stuff rest for about 10 to 15 minutes, and it will make a huge difference in how this turns out. So we'll get it on a plate, let it rest, and we'll go from there. All right, so we've got our steaks cooked. They've rested. And just a kind of reiteration on this. We let these run over direct heat as high as your grill will go for about a minute, minute and a half. We flip them, run them another minute, minute and a half, and then we take them up and throw them on the top rack till they hit probably 125, 130, just kind of depends on what you're looking at as far as how you like your meat cooked. I like mine medium rare, so that's kind of what we're looking at here on this. So let's cut into a couple of these guys and see what we've got. That one's got a little bit more kind of skin in there than I would like to see, but I mean, that's a pretty good looking steak on both sides. So let's get prepared to take some bites. All right, so I have brought out a person that is near and dear to my heart. I kind of like her. She's my wife, Lauren. So,
oh, thanks.
And there's also Luna for the official taste test.
Yes, she's very eager.
So we're going to take a couple of bites of this. She is tasting this blind. She has no idea what I've done to these, which is which. So this will be pretty awesome. So here we go. First steak. Cutting a big chunk right out of the center, and we're probably just going to take center bites on all of this stuff. So there you go. Take a center cut out of the other steak. Same size.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take a bite.
I like the first steak more.
Okay.
I don't know which one that is, but
So do I. So the first steak is the whole food steak, which had the heavier marbling in it. The second steak is the our local kind of butchery, which is who they got it from, but it's Creekstone Farms is who it actually comes from. But yeah, definitely I'm going to go with number one. Lauren's going with number one, so she's got a fantastic palate. So there we go. There is the final result on what a standard house thinks that the best ribeye choice grade may be. So,
which I will say, the marbleization in this one, I got a fattier bite of this piece versus this piece. This piece, the bite that I got was a little bit leaner compared to the fat on this one. But I'm actually someone that prefers a leaner bite usually. So for me to choose number one means that it is definitely better, at least to us.
So there you go. There is the official taste, and you know, just for good measure, we'll cut off a fattier portion here and give Luna a bite. So,
you want to see your fans, Luna?
what do you think,
Up,
Luna?
up?
You gonna come up? Up, up?
There she is.
So Stay tuned for the next one until we come up with something different to test. Thanks for watching.